So there's been a lot of conversation in the community for the last few days because of the updates that came along with the Commander brackets. So we're going to briefly skim this article, but there's one thing in particular I want to talk about, and that's the hybrid mana thing. That's probably the thing that people are talking about the most, and that seems to be the thing that people are most heated about and most passionate about. And I think that I have a different opinion than a lot of people, and I'm going to explain why, but there's a caveat to it. So we're going to briefly skim this article, and then we're going to jump into the specifics of the hybrid mana, which is the main thing I want to talk about today. So this update came October 21st, so just about a week ago, and really it's talking about, adding a turn-based system to brackets so that you can say, like, oh, hey, like if you're bracket 3, then, maybe it's okay for people to start dying around turn 6 or something. That was the main thing that they updated to brackets, which I actually kind of like. I think it puts a little bit more of a descriptor on what to expect as far as game length, and that is not directly tied to, but largely tied to power level. So I kind of like that add. And then they also removed tutors as a part of the bracket discussion, just because the strongest tutors are already game changers, so we don't need to clarify that if you're playing bracket 1 or 2, and it's like, well, I want to play Diabolic Tutor, I think is the one, the like 4 mana demonic tutor, that's a pretty fair card. I think it's okay if you play that in lower brackets. So they removed that. Oh yeah, here's that part about it with the removing tutor restriction. So yeah, they use Diabolic Tutor as the example in that as well. And then they also were like, well, is Expedition Map in there? Is Tezzeret in there? Like these like more specific tutors, I can only find specific things. They also changed the game changer philosophy as far as like high mana value cards. It's okay if high mana value cards win the game, so we don't need to make them game changers. And then they also said that the commanders that were game changers, they don't need to have that because maybe they're okay in the 99. And if you see it as the commander, then it's easier to rule 0 it. I largely disagree with this game changers thing. Like Expropriate kind of counts as looping extra turns, and that's specifically something they want to avoid in lower power level. And by having it not be a game changer, it means that it can show up in lower brackets, and that sounds bad. And I think Vorinclex borders on the like, it's kind of, it's restricting your mana, right? It's not like hard land removal like an Armageddon or anything, but it is like stacks, quote unquote, restricting mana. So I think that being okay in lower brackets is also problematic. And you're also in green for Vorinclex, so like ramping into this 8 mana spell is actually pretty realistic and pretty easy to do. So I don't really like those changes. And then like Kinnan, Urza, Winota, Yurko gain removed because they're broken commanders, but maybe in the 99 they're okay. It doesn't matter. Urza's still busted in the 99. And then these other cards are just miserable and brutally strong. They should stay game changers. You don't want to, like, even if you built one of these commanders in brackets 1, brackets 2, they're still really good. They should just stay game changers. So I don't like the game changers change. They also said Consecrated Sphinx is going to stay a game changer, which for now, I think that's the one that I made a video about that when they announced that it was getting added to game changers. I don't think Consecrated Sphinx needs to be a game changer. Coalition Victory and Panoptic Mirror, they're talking about maybe removing. I am on the fence about either of those. On one hand, those do kind of fit the category of like, well, if you're going to do something broken with it, then that's more of a philosophy thing. But like, if you play these cards fairly, they're pretty fair. I agree with that. But Coalition Victory is so anticlimactic, which is why I was okay with it being banned. I was like, it's okay if Coalition Victory is banned because no one's going to want to play it because it's a lame card and it's a lame way to win the game. So I think most people won't play it. So why unban it? But I guess it's not that big of a deal if you unban it. But now at this point, I'd rather they just leave it a game changer because it's just an anticlimactic way to win a game. And then Panoptic Mirror, obviously, you can loop extra turns and stuff with it, but there's also quote-unquote fair things you can do with it, so they're talking about removing that. All right, so then they have things that they're discussing with the community that they want more specific feedback on. They're talking about maybe banning Rhystic Study, which I would be pro doing. I think Rhystic Study is annoying. It slows down game. It's also like very expensive and one of the most played blue cards in the format, so we would get more format diversity if we got rid of this card. We would make games a little bit faster. We would make games less annoying. You wouldn't feel like you're pricing people out by saying, hey, one of the most played cards, one of the most played blue cards in the format is $40 or whatever it is. I think so. I think banning Rhystic Study would probably be a long-term good for the format. And they're also talking about maybe banning Thoracle. Thassa's Oracle, but I think that's really a question for CEDH. I think in casual, it's like you sometimes play it in casual, but I think for the most part, it's a CEDH question. Is something that CEDH wants? Are they okay with banning it? Like, would it help their format diversity? Or does CEDH even care about format diversity? They might not. I know that like in 60 card formats, we're really happy with format diversity, but I don't know. CEDH might not care about that. All right. And then the big thing is they're talking about changing hybrid mana. And everyone talks about Kitchen Finks. I don't care about Kitchen Finks, which is for 1 and then a hybrid green white. It's a 3/2 oof that when it enters you gain a life or gain 2 life and has persist. This is always the card that people use as an example. It's like, well, I could play that. I should be able to play that in mono green. I should be able to play that in mono white. We'll get into more of the specifics here, but I largely think this is a dumb example because like, not that many people are going to want to play. Maybe for like a mono white blink deck, you'd want it or something. But like a lot of the times you're not interested in cards like that. But in general, they're saying like, hey, for the purposes of draft and constructed, these cards are designed to be, it's a green card or a white card. It's less about it being a green and a white card. And it's supposed to smooth out constructed. It's supposed to smooth out limited and stuff like that. And so it's kind of silly that that's not the approach that we use in Commander. And it seems like the general feeling in the community is that people don't want this change. It seems like a lot of people are like, yeah, please leave it the way it is. We like the color identity rules the way they are currently in Commander. And I am definitely in the camp of like, if a change is going to be bad, let's not do the change. Or if a change is maybe unnecessary, let's not do the change, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I do think it's weird that these cards are designed with the idea it's a white card or a green card in the case of Kitchen Finks. Then why can't we apply that same philosophy to Commander? Why is Commander so special in that way? It's not a green-white card, it's a green or a white card. I've thought this for a few years, and I even remember in my play group, we had, I don't remember what the card was, but someone had a mono blue deck, and then they had a one of these Simic hybrid cards in there, and we're like, actually, you can't do that. And they're like, well, why? And we're like, because that's how it works in the other formats. Why can't it work here in Commander? And so for me, I think that it would be a long-term benefit to just streamline it so that these hybrid cards work the same way that they do in other formats. And if you really look at the hybrid cards that get played in Commander, so like Deathrite Shaman wouldn't change. It's still a Golgari card because it's got the black activate ability and the green activate ability. So like that doesn't really count. And then I guess these dual land ones from Modern Horizons wouldn't count because they're actually the dual lands on the back. But like Cold Eye Selkie, it's technically a Simic card by the current rules, but it's supposed to be, when it was designed, it's supposed to be like a green or a blue card. And if you kind of go through these cards, I think that philosophy actually holds pretty well. There's a couple outliers, but I think most of these are cards that like, yeah, I could see that being one of their colors, or I could see it being one of their other colors. And I don't think it would change much. I don't think like any of these cards would be like completely warping the format because we made this change. So I think that using that logic between it wouldn't hurt the format, it would give you more options for your deck building, and just creating cohesion between other formats and Commander so that it makes sense, especially to newer players. I am totally for making this change. There's a caveat, though, which is that it sets up the precipice that they could completely change what I just said, that it's perfectly fine right now. So here's what I mean. They've been doing a lot of hybrid cards in Standard lately. We had a lot of that in Foundations and Bloomburrow, Spider-Man, and it looks like they're going to be doing that a lot going forward. We know we're going to get some hybrid in the Avatar set. We had a lot of hybrid when we did Shadowmoor, and so logically you would think, when we go back to Lorwyn at the beginning of next year, we're probably going to get some hybrid cards. And based on early previews, it looks like that's going to be at least part of what's going on here. These Evoke guys aren't going to be problematic because they have the specific color pips in their rules text, but like something like Figure of Fable here, if we made this change, it could go in a green deck or a white deck. This isn't really a card that I think would get a lot of Commander play, so that doesn't necessarily matter. And then also, we're going back to Strixhaven next year, and there was a lot of hybrid in Strixhaven last time. And I think that is what concerns me, is because based on that article, they're going to come back beginning of next year and kind of make their final decision on some of those hypothetical changes that they might make. And I don't like the timing of this. They're doing it right when Lorwyn's about to drop, right when we're going to be kicking up preview season for Strixhaven. And to me, that sets up like there's some really strong or really pushed hybrid cards that they might want to use to sell packs. And if they make this change in Commander, that it would increase the likelihood that people want these chase cards, these pushed hybrid cards. And I don't like the timing of that. So I guess my proposal would be, yes, I like the change, but we need to wait. This can't go on forever, I don't think. I don't think hybrid is something that we see a lot across all sets, but it is something that they're doing a lot right now. It's something that they're going to be doing a lot in the next couple sets. I would feel a lot more comfortable if we waited to make the change until we knew that there was going to be a stretch where there wasn't going to be a bunch of new hybrid cards. Like, yeah, the next couple sets, the Lorwyn, the Strixhaven, they're going to have hybrid cards. What if there's a really, really pushed hybrid card that's maybe color pie breaking in one of those sets? Well, we don't want that. We don't want that in Commander. So we should hold that off. They are also theoretically designing these sets so far in advance that this new philosophy that they're talking about making the change for Commander couldn't have possibly been applied to these new sets that are about to come out, because they make these sets multiple years ahead of time. So if we wait until there's going to be a gap where there's not going to be hybrid for a year or two, and then they implement this new rule, that gives the designers more time to make sure that future hybrid cards that are designed are made with in mind this new rule change. So that would be my proposal. I like the rule change. I think hybrid mana should work in Commander the way it doesn't work in all other formats. It would be easier for new players. It makes more sense. It's not really color pie breaking, because I think these cards, at least largely, work the way they're designed to work for either color. But again, I would feel more comfortable with them waiting to make that change until we have a little bit of a gap before we're going to get a bunch of new hybrid cards. Because again, to me right now, the worry is that they're making this change to sell more Lorwyn or to sell more Strixhaven, because there's going to be pushed hybrid cards. And I don't like that. That gives me the ick. That concerns me. That does open the door for some of these maybe being color pie breaks when maybe they wouldn't have been otherwise. So that would be my 2 cents on the matter. That's really what I wanted to talk about today. But I know that is not the general sentiment of the community. I know that a lot of people are against this theoretical change. I've heard a lot of the arguments. I've watched a lot of video essays. I've read a lot of comments on social media and in the comments of those videos, and I'm not convinced. I do not think that the current rule needs to be the way it is, at least long term. But I, again, think it's okay that we wait. But let me know in the comments what you think. Maybe one of you viewers are actually able to make a argument that I haven't heard that would actually make me say, yeah, let's not make this change ever. But I doubt it. But hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back later with some more videos. Until next time, guys. See ya.